Hello, Queen Ages. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Flucking Flourishing. Today, I am joined by Sadie, the writer and soul behind An Inviting Space, a place where she gently invites us to slow down, feel more deeply, and find grace in the everyday. Her writing is a balm for the busy heart, intimate, tender, and richly human. In today's conversation, we'll wander through the beauty of creating space for our stories, our emotions, our mess, and how doing less can sometimes open the door to more. Sarah brings softness and truth, and I am very excited that she's here joining us today. So settle in and take a deep breath, everyone. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's delightful to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. And as you were saying just before I press record, that we have crossed each other's paths, and I have written for your publication, and we've been in other groups together, and this is the first time that we're sitting down one-on-one, so it's really lovely.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'd love to hear from you. What are the things that help you flourish right now in your life, at this time in your life?
Yeah. That's a good question because I was coming into this conversation thinking about flourishing, and I thought, I don't know if I feel like I am flourishing right now.
Mhm.
So, if
Mhm.
we're not in a period of exactly flourishing, then what are
Mm.
the things we do to help us sort of, tap into that sensation, right? And,
Exactly.
so I think for me, there are some practices that I've put in place that really ground me and
Yeah.
help me to sort of stay in my truth.
Mhm.
Um, and one of those would be like my morning cup of Earl Grey tea, which I try to hold time in the morning just to enjoy,
Mhm.
not to try to multitask or make my to-do list or my grocery list while I'm drinking it, not to check social media or anything, just just to sort of maybe watch the sunrise or go
Yeah.
for a walk around the block or just be really mindful and leisurely
Yeah.
luxurious about that first cup of tea in the morning. I'm
Mm.
usually a coffee drinker,
Mhm.
so choosing tea is sort of another way to sort of say, this is different. This is not your, get up and
Yeah.
power through. This is a mindful moment. And I also journal. I have a
Mm.
journaling practice.
Yeah.
I don't pressure myself to write for publication even every week if it doesn't feel
Mhm.
right. But
Mhm.
I do like to come to the page and just sort of ground myself. And some days that's doodling, and some days it's writing,
Mm.
and some days it's just staring at the blank page. But it's almost a tactile thing. Like I open the notebook and I
Mm.
touch the paper and
Yeah.
I'm there, I'm present.
Mm. It
Um,
it really sounds like you have things in place that are like almost touchstones to how you ground yourself.
I think so. And I guess that makes me, sort of have a new lens, even in this conversation as we're talking, coming to a new understanding of what does flourishing mean for me,
Mm. Yeah.
right? Because I
Yeah.
think that's a good question. Is like
Mhm.
not everybody's flourish looks the same.
No?
So for me right now, at least, I think flourishing is really grounding in my truth
Mm.
and finding a way to clear away the noise and the
Mhm.
distraction and I mean, it's just so busy out there, it's so noisy out there. And to insist on my space and
Mm.
insist on my quiet, the right for my voice to emerge in its own time. I think those things for me feel like flourishing right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you comment on what does flourishing look like, and it is different for everybody because of course everybody is in a different place geographically, in a different time in their life, in a different situation. And I'm very much of the, no mud, no lotus, that we've got to have the shit. We've got to have this like composting. We've got to have time where we're focusing on what it is that kind of the bedrock, or it's not even bedrock because it is that compost. It's like what it is that helps nourish us, and that there's not always a garden. It's not blooming, every day all year. And if you love the gardening metaphors like I do, and so I would love to hear from you at this time of your life. Um, yeah, what are some of the things? Have there been times where you felt like you're flourishing, and or how do seasons fit into that for you?
Oh, yeah, what a good question because um, time for me is not linear at all.
Mhm.
And I really do follow a cyclical seasonal model when I think about time and when I think about my life and the phases and stages. And it seems to me like maybe we're experiencing several different cycles at the same time, bigger and smaller cycles.
Mhm.
And so I do love the gardening metaphors and the seasonal metaphors. I live in the middle of the United States in Wisconsin, right? And
Yeah.
so for me, it's a very four seasonal climate. So I
Yeah.
get that sense of regular progress
Mhm.
and so in some ways right now, I feel like I'm sort of in that August, early September, like, it's summer, but it's late summer, and
Yeah.
it's that beautiful, mellow, juicy, fruitful time, and
Yeah.
it just kind of stretches, and it's such a lovely place to be in a
Yeah.
life, right?
Yeah.
You have some experience. You're not in the springtime, but you're also still very fruitful and juicy. And in some ways, I came through a divorce, a difficult divorce, just a 3 years ago. And Lisa, I feel like a toddler. Some days I honestly feel like a toddler. It's like I'm learning to walk. I'm
Yeah.
learning to find my balance. I still fall down on my butt regularly.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? And then in some ways, I've been thinking about this week too. In
Yeah.
some ways, I feel like I am going through some things right now for myself that a lot of people go through in their 20s because I
Mhm.
was at home with my kids, I was writing, I was in a very protected space.
Mhm.
And now I'm having to navigate the work world and the career world and say, what do I want to do? Who am I? How do I do this thing? And I think a lot of people wrestle with these questions at a different phase. And here I am. And so it's like all of these
Mm.
seasons that sort of lap and overlap, these times that lap and overlap. And there's just a real richness to that, even if it's not always comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's fascinating and I think you're not alone at your age. I think there are many of us who have, for various reasons, have had to kind of recalibrate and find ourselves. I mean, from my speaking from myself, moved continent and had to kind of reinvent myself here in Finland. I mean, um, I moved here. It was for the heart. It was it was a love move, but it has meant kind of a reevaluating. It's everything changed, and it was language and culture, and so I feel like your experiences would be of benefit, I guess, and that's partly what you write about, isn't it, to others?
I think so. And I think how lucky are we
Mm,
that may be more true than ever, that people have the freedom and the opportunity, at least in some socioeconomic models, in some
mhm.
cultures, right? I can't, but
No.
to have that period of reinvention
Yeah.
and to have that time of saying, well, I thought I knew where life was going, but
Mhm.
here's a curveball or three, right? So what do we do with this?
Mm,
I feel like in my writing, I want to provide space for people, to provide that sense of spaciousness so that people who are looking for maybe more slowness,
mm,
stillness, can find a sort of oasis for that.
mm.
But also, and I think part of the way I do that is to just be really honest and transparent about the fact that I do not know what comes next.
Yeah.
And if I thought that I had some expertise, I've sort of let a lot of that go because
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've gotten to a place and where, I don't have any maps to follow. I'm not living someone else's timeline, right? I'm living my timeline
Mm,
and I don't know what comes next. And
mm,
and there's freedom in that, and there's also challenge. And
mm.
in a culture, in a timeline where so often I think we're supposed to present as though we have it all together and we're very successful and
Yeah.
we're checking all the boxes and look at all the
Mhm.
things that are wonderful. I really want to, elbows out, hold a space for I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm.
And I'm just
Yeah.
trying to, and there's a freedom in that, and it's a
Yeah.
wonderful. I mean, I find it uh, thrilling. I find it thrilling,
Mm.
and maybe that also is my flourish, right? Maybe that is
Yeah,
my
that's right. And maybe, I mean, the unknown, yes, it's scary, but it's also exhilarating. I love
Mhm.
that idea.
Yeah, I mean, you had asked a question, I think, sort of leading into this interview
Mm,
about what makes you feel alive, or when have you
mm,
felt really alive
yeah,
recently?
yeah.
And I was thinking about that question, and I thought, I think I feel alive every morning I get out of bed because I don't know.
Woohoo!
Yeah, here we are again. What's going to happen? And but how
Yeah,
wonderful at this place in life, right?
yeah,
To be in that place, to say I am fully engaged, fully
mm,
alive, nothing for granted, nothing prescripted.
yeah,
Here I am, and the world is open. And what path will I take today? And I that's kind of my wish for everybody, that we would get
yeah,
to that
yeah.
place.
What part does surrender play in that process, do you think?
Uh, Everything.
I was thinking that was probably gonna be the answer, but I wanted
Yeah.
to ask the
I
question.
I mean, I do feel like, surrender is one of the big lessons,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
recently, my phrase has been, I feel like I'm in a trust fall with the universe,
Mhm.
and I'm just saying, okay, this is it, I'm going to trust.
Yeah,
And in my experience, the universe has your back, but maybe not in the way you thought.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So you really do have to just let go of preconceptions or plans and just say,
Mhm.
I don't know, but I trust that
Yeah.
it's going to be what I'm supposed to be doing.
And being open, I guess, to the possibility is part of that as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and listening. I've really been
Yeah.
thinking about how the practice of listening
Mm,
goes so deep. It's such an embodied way to be in the world.
mm,
And we don't spend a lot of time talking about or thinking about or learning how to listen well.
mhm,
But I think that surrender includes, um, not just an openness and a release and a letting go, but also then a willingness to really deepen into listening for what comes next,
mm,
and being open to it might not be the path that I thought I was on, right? It
yeah.
might be something way over here that, oh, okay, well, what's that door that's opening? That's
Mm.
curious. Um, yeah,
Yeah, because maybe in the filling our heads with expectations is part of the noise, and then we don't hear what it is that's coming next, or the little whispers. I mean, they're often little whispers. It's not, or small things that you think, oh well, I'll say yes to this, instead of you filling your head with, well, it should be
right,
dot dot
right.
dot.
And I love that you brought in the head and how noisy the head is and how often
Mhm,
we sort of orient by, well, I think I should, or this
mhm,
is what the plan was. Because for me, I feel like part of surrender and part of this whole experience has been really becoming re-embodied and
yeah,
getting down into my body and listening with, something not up here, but like,
mhm,
how does this feel in my gut? Or, what
mhm,
do my hands want to do next? Or, where is the energy now for me? How are my legs feeling? How are my feet feeling? Am I
mm,
antsy? Am I calm?
yeah,
What lifts me up? And
mm,
that also takes time, that re-embodiment, that learning to slow down and listen to what are our bodies already telling us, because
mhm,
there's so much wisdom here.
yeah.
But we, many of us, walk around up here for the most
Mhm.
part, and we're,
Think we're a
oriented
flesh
more.
suit carrying our amazing brain around,
Yes,
which it
that's
is amazing, but yeah,
absolutely, but it's also very connected to the gut and the
yeah,
spine and all of the nerves and muscles that are giving us more information, right?
exactly.
And
I'm
I've just
curious in how that embodiment journey, how and when that began for you?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question because it has to be a journey, right? So many
Mhm.
of us are I certainly was um, raised in the middle of the Midwest as a, good white girl,
Yeah.
to be very much up here, smart girl, right?
Uh-huh.
And to orient up here. Um, for me, I think I've always loved to dance,
Yeah.
and I've always, as when I was younger, experienced a lot of shame around
Yeah.
dancing. I don't
Mhm.
have a dancer's typical body. I
Yeah.
don't have, I didn't have that pathway, but I still love to move to music and
Yeah.
to ground in that truth. My family was a very musical family. I played a lot of instruments, I sang in the choir, but I
Yeah.
think in some ways dancing is my most authentic way of
Yeah.
living with music. And I had to come back to that sort of in midlife,
Yeah.
and I discovered Koya,
Mhm.
Qoya, which is an embodied dance practice.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted to do it. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do this if I don't become a teacher. So I became a Koya teacher, and I went through that initiation, and that brought me dancing to music, brought me back to my embodied self
Mhm.
in a way that was a recovery, a real recovery for me of something that had been very true when I was a young child, and then I had sort of been shamed away from,
Mm.
encouraged away from, shaped away from.
Mm.
And so it was a recovery of that physical
Mm.
grounding in my body.
I love that because it's such a beautiful journey and that you are very much aware of the fact that it was something that you really loved as a child and that it was almost taken away because you didn't fit what everyone thought you should be if you're a dancer, and it's always was ballet.
Right,
um,
right.
I mean, I grew up in a really kind of isolated place, and I do remember that they had Scottish Highland dancing actually,
Mhm.
bizarrely, because I was in like rural South Australia, so I don't know. And I always thought it was so cool because they had swords, and but it was just kind of not me either. I was really tall really early, and I distinctly remember I had this injury in my foot. I for 6 months had a sore ankle, and eventually told my parents, and it ended up going to a specialist, and he said I'll never forget it. I walked in and I must have been about 14, and the specialist said to me, "Oh, are you a ballet dancer?" And my mum burst out laughing.
Oh.
It was like, if that's not and I mean, she probably looks back and thinks, "Why did I do that?" But she just burst out laughing as if, Lisa could be a ballet dancer. But I had an injury that was apparently common with ballet dancers, and
Interesting.
but it was that thing. And it's so interesting you talk about dance because it is coming up so often for me in many different contexts, and I have been doing a little bit of dancing at home, and it's something that I want to continue doing because I have a similar journey in the whole embodiment. I was a flesh suit carrying around my incredible brain, and getting in touch with the wisdom of my body has been a fantastic journey in the last 10 years. So I'm really excited about finding out a bit more about the Koya.
Well, and I want to just land on something that you just
Mm,
said because I think it's so crucial to me and my experience and what I try to share. You've been doing a little dancing around the home for
mhm,
yourself, and I
mhm,
think when women dance, we so often it's a performative thing. We're dancing to be seen, we're dancing to perform, we're dancing to, be appreciated in some way. And one of the recoveries for me has been I
yeah,
dance privately. I
mhm,
dance in the way that feels good to me in
yeah,
my body. And I,
mm,
I don't dance with mirrors. I don't dance with audience. Like I just dance in my room for myself. If I lead a Koya class, I cover up the mirrors, right?
yeah,
And they really tune into what feels right for
mhm,
you. And that's such a crucial piece because as women or as people raised as women, I think, and
mm,
perhaps it's this generation, but I'll just say this: we don't always pay attention to what feels good in
mm,
our bodies for ourselves.
yeah,
And so to do this in a dance context has been just a real way of coming back to my truth. And, that brings
Mm,
us around to when you say, what are your practices? How do you flourish? It's like,
mm,
it's the same as the cup of tea or the journaling. It's how do I get back to my ground truth? Where am I today? And I think that insistence on, I do this for myself. This is
yeah,
a practice for myself.
yeah. I hadn't thought about, I mean, obviously dance is about a performance at some angle, but I hadn't really sort of connected it that I would be dancing to perform to someone else. I was kind of, whoa. But you're right. At dancing for myself, it feels really, really awesome.
It does, it does,
Yeah.
and I don't even mean necessarily in, like, a ballet context or a recital context,
No.
but even in our 20s, right?
Yeah,
We go out to the club and we're like, "Oh, who's seeing me?" So,
exactly.
at
And
least that's me, Lisa.
yeah,
I'm a Leo, so I'm always concerned with who's seeing me.
I'm a Sagittarian.
Oh, very good, very good.
Nice one.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Um, I love asking this question of my guests, and you have talked about it a lot, but what is it that you are unlearning right now?
Oh, so much.
I think so. Feels
Um
like that.
Yeah, I mean, and I have never put it in those words exactly. So
Mm,
thank you for that.
yeah,
And when you say, "What are you unlearning?" the image that comes to mind immediately for me is unraveling,
yeah.
like somebody unraveling the tapestry, right, or
Mhm,
unraveling the whatever it is. And
mm.
how wonderful that is to think of that. Thank you. Well, besides the things that I think I've mentioned, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know, um, I, I am a writer. I'm on Substack.
yeah.
That's sort of a core part of me.
Mhm,
But when I was younger, when I was younger, I think I had a very directed and dedicated sense of what that was supposed to look like.
mhm.
I was going to be a poet. I was going
Yeah,
to be well published. I was going to be well respected. I was going to have a career. I would
yeah,
probably write some criticism. I would probably teach some, like, it was a
yeah,
very
yeah.
directed image of what a writer
Mm.
was going to be. And during the period of my divorce, I really fell silent for
Mm,
a few years. And as a writer, that's quite scary when
mm,
you no longer are writing. Um, and I thought, well, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm done with that.
mm.
Again, that toddler sense of, well, I don't know what comes next. No, I have to learn to walk all over again. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so I came back to the page through Substack, just
Mm,
thinking, well, let's just see. And I started by just posting a daily prompt that sometimes was just, let's breathe today.
yeah,
Let's just try to breathe. And it slowly grew from there. And then I found myself stretching into longer pieces, more reflective
yeah.
pieces, more associative pieces.
Mm,
And so I think for me, when you ask about unlearning,
mm,
one of the really, like, pushing myself to my own edges journey right now is just saying, what does it mean to be a writer? What is
mm,
that going to look like for me in my life now as I am putting the pieces back together and flourishing in my juicy truth, right?
mhm,
How does writing fit into that? And it's not at all what I thought it would be,
mm,
and I still am very much in a place of questions, and again, look, sensing for where are those opportunities, where are the little whispers of intuition.
yeah.
um, and it's been a wonderful exploration and discovery of, oh, I guess this is how it's going to fit for me today. Okay.
Mhm.
um,
And the fact that you acknowledge that it's a daily thing too, that just be that you're not limiting yourself to, well, I'm writing like this today, therefore tomorrow will have to be like that, or you're getting rid of
right.
all of those expectations. It's like today it looks like this. Who knows? Tomorrow is a new day. I mean, you're waking up excited because
Yes,
it's a
that's
new
very
day. What's ahead and what's going to appear for me? It's
yeah.
beautiful.
And I think that is true because I find as a writer, and maybe you feel this too, writing is one of my real ways of understanding who am I, and
Mm,
experiencing myself in real time, experiencing
mm,
myself in this place. And I sometimes feel, and this is I think why I journal, if I don't write something about what I'm experiencing, it's almost as though I haven't really experienced it because I haven't processed it in the writing.
interesting. Yeah.
And so, which of course is not true, but it's how I feel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so it is, for me, writing has become very much, has always been, but even more so now, more consciously, I think, is very much a ground truthing, where
Mm,
am I today? What's happening today? Who do I want to be? And then what is the expression of that?
yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I'm now curious to know how intention and intention setting fits in your life.
I think I'm a very intentional person.
Mm,
Um, and I don't mean that in the sense of goal oriented, or, but I mean, and I sometimes with my clients in my workshops, I have sometimes made that distinction. We're not
mm,
setting goals, we're setting intentions, right?
mhm,
And for me, that means, because words are so slippery, right? So it's like, okay, but what does intention mean? What is that?
mm,
Um, a goal is very much about what I want to do, and
mhm.
an intention is very much about how I want to be while
Yeah,
I'm doing whatever I'm doing.
yeah.
And it's become so important to me at this juicy season of my life, um, to really focus on how do I want to be no
Mm,
matter what I'm doing, whether
mm,
that's, working at my job or writing at my desk or washing
yeah.
the dishes, right? How do I want to be?
Mm,
And again, it comes back to that intention that I hold with my Substack, which is,
mm,
let me be a place of calm. Let me be a place of peace so that the people around me feel safe, right? The people
mm,
around me feel like they have space to express and be their true selves. Um, and I think that is maybe as close to the core as I have ever gotten to expressing my way
mm.
of being in the world. So thank
Yeah,
you for that.
yeah. That's a pleasure. I am very much in favor of setting intentions. And as a mindfulness teacher, one of the most important things that you can do is set an intention for your mindfulness practice, whatever it is, whatever it comes to you at that time, because there you gain so much more from it. So I feel just from listening to you, I feel that you are intentional about the way you do things, and you're right to make the distinction between an intention and a goal because they are very different.
Mhm.
Goals can feel quite overwhelming, I think, for many of us, particularly in our point of life where we realize we sat there at school and we made these goals, and then you get to our point and you realize, well,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what the heck happened there? And so intentions, it feels better, certainly for me and many people that I work with too. So that you're it's not that tick a box, but it's leaning into that feeling and where you're wanting to go.
This is true. And I still want to be really careful because I think we can fall into the trap sometimes of setting an intention that we feel like we should set, right?
Exactly.
Setting an intention that we feel like, well, this is what I should be, or this is what, my teacher did, or this is how,
Mhm,
what it should look like. And one of
mm,
the things I like about dancing is that through the dance, I will come to a place of intention. And I will
mm,
say, today I am dancing for, and just let it float up, right? Just let it.
mhm.
That's a Koya practice. I didn't make that up. That's a Koya practice.
Yeah.
Um, but today I am dancing for, and just let it float up. And I feel like that's a way of setting an intention in life,
Yeah.
to let it float up and say, where am I right now? It might be
Mm,
messy, right?
Yeah.
It might just be today. Today I am getting through. Today I am,
I am breathing.
yes, that's right. That's not a small thing.
No, it isn't.
And but I really feel like that is a, in our conversation we've been talking so much. What are you unlearning? What are you,
Mm,
where's your edge? Where is your flourish? And that is a piece I think I keep having to come back to, is to say
mm,
it's not supposed to look like anything.
yeah.
It just is what it is.
Mhm.
And what is that today?
Yeah.
And wow, is that a radical and countercultural message to continue to breathe into?
Isn't it?
Even in the mindful spaces, even
Mm,
in the, you know, flourishing women spaces, there is
mhm.
still this sense of what is it supposed to look like? How do we know if we're successful? How do we know if we've arrived and made it? And it's like, no, let's just soften and,
It's why
unravel
I
a bit
added the
more.
flocking to flourishing.
That's correct. That is exactly so. Thank
And
you.
it's why I show up however. I feel that that is a really important way to be in the world, and I feel like you're very similar in that sense that you're showing up as yourself as you are right now. It's not performative. It is, this is how it is, and it's a bit shit today. And then the next
Correct.
day is, well, today is a glorious day. Look at that. Or you choose to focus on those things. You might be feeling a certain way and you see a spider web and you go, wow, look at that. Or you hear a bird or you see a cloud, and that brings you some kind of incredible joy.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that immediately attracted me to your writing and your space was your insistence on the plucking with the flourishing.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, with that, I feel such a sense of celebration.
Mm,
Like we are flocking for
yeah,
flourishing, because even on the days when it's, yeah, kind of not, kind of a bit shit or kind of a bit this or that,
yeah,
we're here. Like,
yeah.
let's celebrate, because here we are in our full messy glory and we are fucking flourishing. And I
Mm,
just I want to hit on that, because in all of my talk about, divorce and mess and not knowing and, but there is such a sense of celebration and joy and gratitude. And, I wake up every morning feeling vibrantly alive, and
mm,
that is amazing to me. I
yeah.
wanna I wanna share that and say it may be messy and it might be a little scary, but I'm also like so vibrant.
Mm. I often think, I have this thing in my head of people like, oh, things start getting hard, and it's like, well, the alternative to living is pretty shit. I
Yeah,
mean, it is death, and I would prefer to move forward, even if I'm feeling a little bit shit. That it's the alternative is worse. I'd rather be alive and muddling through and connecting with some incredible humans who are also muddling through. Let's muddle through together.
right? Yes, yes. And let's get past the veneer.
Yes.
Let's get past that surface
Mm,
into the, you know,
yeah.
here I am. And this is me, right? I'm a little ragged. I'm a little messy. I'm
Mhm,
a little squishy. This is
mhm,
where I'm at. And
mm,
I want to meet other human beings who are working from here and saying, I'm a little ragged. I'm a little messy. I'm a little squishy. And
mhm,
it's in those connections. I think I was such a perfectionist when I
yeah.
was young. I straight A's and, ace the test and ace the performance, and my hair, was my hair in place. And I was I mean, really like quaffing with the
Yeah.
roller brush and the blow dryer and
Uh-huh.
making sure it was all. And so it's been a healing and an unlearning to move
Mm,
past perfectionism. But the
yeah.
thing about perfectionism, the thing about being perfect is you can't connect to perfect. There's no way to it's just a glossy
Mhm,
surface that you slide right past. And
mm,
I just have found such freedom
mm.
in getting past, in unlearning that and getting past it and saying perfect isn't even interesting. you know
And
Perfect is boring.
it takes so much
Oh yeah.
energy.
Oh, yeah.
All of these rituals, I mean, I now get up and I'm kind of like, I joke that I had a haircut and I cut like 25 centimeters off. I'm like, I now have an adult haircut. But,
Yeah,
I basically went into the hairdresser and said, cut it so that I don't have to do it.
absolutely.
I don't wanna have to be doing I don't wanna spend hours on my hair. I don't wear makeup, I occasionally put mascara on, maybe some lip
Right.
gloss if my lips are I like wearing earrings, that's fun, it's a bit creative, but otherwise, I don't know, I don't make much effort. I like effort and effort. I don't wanna be spending all of that energy on something that ultimately doesn't matter because there's lots of other things. I wanna be talking to you, and I wanna be
Right.
writing, and I wanna be out
Right.
in nature or doing all the other fun things.
Right.
Yeah. It
Absolutely.
it just can take so much time that we maybe because we're buying into that should, we sort of keep going down that path.
And it's not, it's in appearance and it's also in how we perform our tasks, how we perform. And what I have found um, is that the people who are still holding on to that perfectionism, right, and that
Mhm.
performance model are so hard on themselves,
Mm,
so hard on themselves. And then
mm,
they hold all the people around them to that same standard.
mm,
And it's difficult.
mm.
There's a lot of disappointment because people aren't perfect. We're messy and
And squishy.
and squishy, you know, and so just for me, the practice of really letting go of my expectations of myself in that way has also allowed me to let go of my expectations of other
Mm,
people and realize they're messy and squishy. We're in the same room being
mhm,
messy and squishy in our bodies here, and isn't this wonderful? And let's just connect. Let's just
mm.
see, let's just see where this can go. Let's talk, let's listen, let's work on this project together and see what might happen. So
And
it's much more explorative.
are you kinder to yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's an ongoing practice, right? I
Mhm.
won't say I'm kind to myself every day.
It's a
It's a reminder.
practice. You hit on the word because it is important that we talk, I think, about the fact that a lot of these things that we're talking about are practices that
All of it,
like we're
every part of it.
practicing.
Yes, and it's a nonlinear journey,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
There's no end.
there's there's no end, and there's no real path that's gonna get you straight there, and so, I think one of the reasons I like that toddler analogy is because they don't walk in a straight line, and
They
and
can
some
bum
days
shuffle.
they do, and some days they decide to go back to crawling because it actually is what they know, and it's okay. I feel, it is a practice, and I think that is why we have to practice being so kind to ourselves is because we're not going to necessarily be in the same place today that we were yesterday. And if yesterday was a
Mm,
good day, maybe today's not going to be. And
mm,
I'm even tearing up a little bit because that practice of kindness is like, it's like holding yourself in such a tender place and saying,
mm,
it's okay.
yeah.
You're not here to be perfect. You're not here to have the answers. You're just
Mm,
here to feel things and maybe notice this beautiful world.
mm.
No.
If somebody has a harsh inner critic, what are your suggestions? How do they move forward with make friends with themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think we all have harsh inner critics.
Mhm,
And I think one of the first things I like to do, I'm a writer, so I go to the page, and I encourage people just write those voices down.
mhm,
Write down exactly what they're saying so you can see it on the paper. Because somehow when they're in our heads only, they're slippery and it morphs and it changes and it goes around. But if we can write it down and sort of say, "Oh, here's what I'm saying to myself,"
mhm.
it helps us see, wow, that's some stuff.
Me, I'm mean.
And then I learned this from a teacher years ago. You write it down and then you put a boundary around it.
Oh, that's a
It
good
could be a heart or maybe a
one.
circle. And write, maybe on the outside of that, around the boundary, just, write some messages of forgiveness, write
Mhm,
some messages of, understanding and I find that boundary practice
Mm,
um, to be very powerful. To
mm,
say, yes, these are things that I sometimes say to myself, but it's not the whole picture.
yeah. And I'm not necessarily these things that the inner voice is
Correct.
saying. And
Correct.
would you say them to your best friend is another one,
Well, isn't
right?
that always the thing, right? Once we
Mhm.
see them, it's like, who talks like that? Who would say those things?
No
And
one.
and yet that's what's going on in our heads so often. And so wherever those voices have come from,
Mm,
I'm less interested in that and more interested in, okay, well, here they are, but how are we going to
yeah.
manage them? And how are we going to be kind to them?
Mm. And
Because
how yeah, that's right.
I
Yeah,
think um I think that harsh inner critic
yeah.
so often is just really scared,
Mhm,
really scared,
mm,
and says all those mean things because we're moving in a direction that maybe feels scary,
mm,
and that's the best way that our scared little parts of ourselves have found to stop us in our
mm,
tracks and stay in this nice safe container, whatever that is.
yeah.
However happy or unhappy we are, at least it's familiar, right?
Mm,
And so that also helps me be really gentle with my
mm,
harsh inner critic voices and to say, okay, you're really mean, but I also know you're really scared.
mm.
And that's okay.
And maybe even acknowledging, "Thank you, but I've got this."
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Elizabeth Gilbert has that moment in her book where she says, fear can ride along, but in the back seat,
Yeah,
right? In
yeah.
fear rides in the back seat. And
Mm,
I like that very much.
yeah, that's beautiful. I like that. Probably have read that somewhere. Quite enjoy reading her books,
Yes.
but everyone's kind of craziness about them sometimes. I'd love to ask you the question, what's something you wished more people talked about openly?
I love that question. And my first thought was money,
Mm.
because
Mm,
I feel like money is still the biggest taboo and we feel so much shame around it and we
yeah.
feel so much fear around it. And right now, money is just so whack, right?
Mhm.
It's so whack how hard some of us have to work for it and how the people that have it seem to abuse it. And it's it's just a really whack. I feel like if we could broach that taboo and just talk about it, we'd let a lot of the
Mm,
energy like just sort of deflate, and that would be a
mhm.
really good thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I have a second answer to that question too, which is and we've sort of been, flirting around with this, but I really would love for people, I'd love for us all to be able to talk more about disappointment and
Mm,
when things don't turn out the way you thought they would. I
yeah.
feel like we have this we have this um, moment in our culture, and maybe we've always had it, but I think with Instagram and social media and
Mm,
all of these things, it sort of has become more and more where we feel like we just have to be put together. We just
yeah.
have to always have ourselves sort of like, look how successful I am, look at my beautiful family, look at my, it used to be we wrote Christmas letters and talked about our beautiful families, now we're posting on social media, but it's the same energy. and
Mm,
um and I wish we could find a way to, you know, and I guess this is what I'm trying to do, is to find a way
mm,
to just say, yeah, there's some things that didn't turn out the way I thought they would.
mhm,
And as much as I celebrate where I am now, and I am flucking flourishing, and I
mhm,
am, you know, juicy and waking up each day, I also want to acknowledge there's grief and
mm,
not push the grief away or pretend it doesn't exist, but say, yeah, some things really didn't go according to plan.
yeah.
And wow, is that hard and painful.
Mm,
And I'm not where I thought I would be when I was 25, and
yeah. Are any of us? Are any of us?
no, but we don't talk about it in
No,
those terms.
no, no.
And I see my 20 something kids trying
Mm,
to figure out what comes next and
yeah.
where are they. And I just feel like if I can model one thing for them, it's you can change it up if it's not working for you.
Yeah.
But part of that is acknowledging there's going to be some grief, when it
Yeah.
doesn't work for you,
Yeah.
whatever that was,
Yeah.
professional goal, personal goal,
Mm.
whatever it was, there will be some grief. And I
Mm.
feel like everybody walks around with one foot in fear and one foot in grief.
Mm.
And if we could just learn ways to be really honest about that and say that's
Mm.
just the human experience.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of wonderful things, there's a lot of deep appreciation and juicy, connections
Mm.
that can happen. But let's just be honest, we have one foot in fear and one foot in grief.
Do you feel like that is because of people's expectations, or that
Which
that
part?
happens, or like that you can experience, I mean, if things don't go as planned, that it's maybe because you had expectations of it ending, or not ending necessarily, but being a certain way, and that maybe adds to the grief and fear?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Mm.
I think grief, there's so many kinds of grief.
Yeah, there are. And maybe
And
we don't talk about that enough, that the time.
no, I think not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's really where it comes down is we
Mm.
don't
Yeah,
talk about grief enough. We
yeah,
we don't acknowledge, we can grieve something that never happened. We can
yeah.
grieve a self that we never became.
Mm,
There's so many ways it can look. And I
mm,
also think we and maybe this is another way to say what I'm trying to say.
mm,
We we hide from our sense of failure, right? If something didn't
mm,
go according to what we thought,
yeah.
did we fail? And the shame that we feel around failure in an achievement oriented society,
Mm,
um, I think keeps us from talking about a lot of this stuff.
mm.
Because if it
And
didn't go according to plan, it must be something
mm,
I did, right? I must have messed
yeah,
up. I must have been foolish
yeah,
or misguided or just not
mm,
good enough or whatever it is.
yeah,
And that I think that piece, the shame piece around
mm,
failure,
yeah,
at least in the corner of society that I live in, you know,
mm.
um, really keeps us uh, quiet about some stuff.
Yeah, and, I mean, it really makes me start to think, I get curious, and then my brain is going, "Oh, there's so many so many kind of paths or little shoots that I can take from here," and the idea that it's a failure. I mean, it might not go how you expected. Again, going back to expectations, or I mean, maybe it's things even that can feel um, like failure. And I think to something that my now mother-in-law said to my husband, and oh, I feel so bad because both my children have gone through divorces, and my husband just looked at her and said, "But I wouldn't be together with Lisa had I not gone through a divorce." And for him, he's now living with me, and we have this amazing life, and but she felt really bad that she'd failed them because they'd had this divorce, not sort of understanding, and I mean, not realizing that, hello, I'm also sitting here listening to you. It's like, so I wouldn't be here if he hadn't. But that idea of how you can maybe not see, if you're not curious, maybe, or you don't kind of think through what you're saying, that you're not seeing the whole, more perspectives maybe, and that failure isn't always failure.
Well, that is so true.
Mm,
And I think your example is one that I have had to learn in
mhm,
my own life, which is at some point I had to say, if they're handing out awards at the end, is longest married really the award that I'm going to go for here? Are there other ones that maybe I want to? And I feel like there are so many cultural stories that we breathe
mm,
in from the very beginning without
yeah,
even realizing it, that we then become patterned and programmed to carry
mhm,
out. And one of those is, I think, as your mother-in-law was saying, that
yeah,
somehow a marriage fails if it doesn't go the duration. And
mhm,
is that really true? Can
mm,
I feel like my marriage was successful to some degree, and the ending came when it came as part of the success,
Yeah.
to be able to own that and say,
Mm.
you know, and where is that true in other parts of life, that the
Mm.
stories that we're patterned with,
Yeah.
right? Perhaps my career is not as linear as I
Mm.
thought it was going to be originally, but
Mm.
who says it's supposed to be? Where did I get that from?
That's right, and who writes the stories and where did they come from? That's always something I'm interested in
And
because it
why?
and why, and often when you follow the threads back, it's patriarchy.
Mhm. It is
Yeah,
so often.
incredible when you do
Yes,
the
how that
research.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And all of these isms, right,
Mm,
feed in and support each other in this really toxic soup. I mean,
mm,
the ways that patriarchy, which we've dealt with for thousands of years,
mhm,
has now interwoven itself with capitalism and with our forms of, making money, earning money, enjoying money. It's like, where do we begin to unravel these threads? How do we do this? And I feel like, as maybe, um, I don't know, trivial is not the word. It seems like such a small place to begin, but just to say, as we both do, this is an inviting space to be a mess. This is an inviting space not to be perfect, not to perform, and to say, yeah, my life turned out to be a lot curvier than I thought it was going to be.
and to continue with the unraveling kind of thing, to start picking the thread and then seeing what happens when you pull that thread and you
Yes.
see that things are dismantling and what does that mean, but it doesn't mean that you can't be then turning the other way and starting a new little project or a new
I
little
think
way
that's
of being.
right. I think that's right. But I really want to reiterate what you just said. Um, Nothing will become dismantled if we can't face it first,
Yeah.
right? None of these patterns unravel. None of these structures will crumble on their own without
Mm,
us facing them and becoming aware of them,
yeah.
experiencing the pain of them,
Mm,
acknowledging our role and our complicence in them,
mm,
and then saying, okay, but now what are we going to do with that? Let's chip away, right?
yeah.
Let's unravel this piece that's mine today. Let's pull on this. And then over here, I'll just take this and begin, like you say, to grow something
Mhm.
else. And that to me is the
Mm,
really lively invitation of this moment,
yeah.
is to say, okay, yeah, things are kind of messy globally right now. Like, a lot is happening that's pretty, and but what can I make over here
Mhm.
that feels like my new garden, right? Here's the garden metaphor again. What
Yeah.
seeds can I plant, right, in a new way over
Mm.
here, or just allow somebody else the space to plant their seed?
Yeah. And
Um,
let's yarn bomb together.
yes,
Let's bring
exactly.
all the metaphors in.
Yeah, that's right. All
Yarn
of
bomb the
these
garden.
grandmother crone truths, right? Let's recover
Exactly.
these. Let's recover grandmother wisdom and say, yes, we'll
Exactly.
we'll knit and we'll cook and we'll garden and we'll do all of these things.
We
Yeah.
will, and we'll be together and connect in ways that we haven't been able to before because now we have this technology. So grateful for it because we wouldn't be sitting here chatting to each other, me in Finland, you sitting in Wisconsin.
That's
And so how incredible that is and how much that can help us with this great unraveling.
Absolutely. That has been another lesson of my life that I have had to come around to, um, is learning that wisdom comes through the collective, and that
Mm,
we none of us do this on our own, nor should we be expected to. That we really are in community always, all the time.
mm,
And I mean, many of us live in a highly individualistic mindset where we think we have to do it all ourselves, and we think we fail when we can't.
mm,
And that was never the truth.
no,
That was always a projection. That was always a lie.
yeah,
And for me, I have had to really come to learn I exist in community, and my reliance upon that community
mm,
and their reliance upon me is the health and resilience that we've been seeking.
mm,
And again, letting go of, I think this weaves back into perfectionism, right? That idea that, here I am in my perfect little bubble. I don't need anything. I am set. like, oh no, 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 I need so much. And I rely upon the people in my community in a way, and hopefully they can rely upon me to provide what I can provide then. And somehow, that weaves
Yeah.
into a stronger and more resilient garden, yarn bomb,
Yeah.
kitchen,
It's
because we're all
colorful
in
and
it together.
messy.
Yeah, we're all in it together.
Yeah,
And that's to be celebrated,
yeah,
recovered and celebrated.
yeah. So what is looking ahead for you? Um, what does that look like for you right now when you're sitting and I mean, looking ahead can mean whatever it is. It could be into your day, it could be into the week or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
What is exciting for you, I guess? Make
I think what's exciting for me right now,
Mhm. Mhm.
in this, early o'clock where I live, right? Like,
Yeah, poor you, it's early.
I'm like drinking my caffeinated beverages here. But just asking the questions.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really, if it hasn't been clear, let me just reiterate. I am really in a period of asking the questions and listening for the answers. And
Yeah.
and there are that in itself is exciting for me.
Mhm.
That in itself is enough right now
Yeah.
for me, to release myself from the need for immediate answers,
Yeah.
and to say, this messy, unknown period of my life doesn't have to resolve itself on a timeline.
Mm.
And I was divorced 3 years ago. Great. Do I have it figured out yet? Nope. Is that okay? Yup. You know, which is not, again, which is not what I thought when
Mm.
I first, entered into that divorce arc, right? When I
Mhm.
first I really thought I was going to emerge, and I had a plan, and I was going to, have my ducks in a row, and wasn't it going to be great that things could take off?
And the
And that
Fluck and Ducks did what the Fluck?
and of course that is not what happened. Everything crumbled. Everything crumbled. And so now, having really come through that, the surprise of that, the just the downright shock of, wow, that did not go according to plan.
Mm.
Um, it is so exciting
Mhm.
to just have let go of that and say, won't it be fun today to find out what's what, and to listen. And I don't have everything figured out. I may never again have everything figured out.
That's
That
awesome. I love that.
exactly,
We want
that
that
may
on
be.
T-shirts. Do not have it worked out and happy.
That's right. That is no longer the goal,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like one of my big learnings right now is to say, perhaps resting in the place of questions,
Mm.
however uncomfortable that is, that may be the that may be what it is.
That's the magic
And that is.
of it.
And how does that feel?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Yeah.
Resting in the place of questions, even if it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right?
And I
Um,
love that you then ask a question, "How does that feel?" And you can
uh-huh.
just keep going. It's like you wake up, it's like every minute, it's like I'm resting in the place of questions. My curiosity is what leads me, and how does that feel?
And how does that feel? And
Yeah.
as soon as our body brings up an answer to that question, right? Well, right now it feels a little,
Mhm.
restless. My feet are kind of,
Mhm.
and then that leads to another question, right? Like, well, what can I do with that? Where can I go with that? So yeah, I think I really feel like questions are so interesting,
Yeah.
and answers are always less interesting. And
Yeah.
so as soon as I land on an answer, I think, okay, well, that's good for now, but then what's the next question?
Yeah.
And um and to
That's
stay in that
beautiful.
space.
I love it so much, Sarah. It's
Thank you.
beautiful. We're both so curious, I think, constantly asking questions. I think it's a
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many places that we connect, right? In the
mm.
mess and in the celebration and in the questions and in the body's truthing and all of this. I feel like
And we
that's
haven't
why.
even touched on poetry.
Oh, I know. Yeah, well, that's,
That's another
that's our
conversation.
another conversation. Exactly.
Well, I'll wind it up now because it has been just the most beautiful chat with you. I would really love to meet you in person sometime at some point in the future. I'm going to put that intention out there.
I
Um,
will hold that intention with you. Yes.
Beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful, because I feel like we could probably talk for a long time and even just sit and do creative things together in each other's presence. It would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be a joy? Wouldn't
Yeah,
that be a
it really
joy?
would be.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining me today on
Well,
Fluffy
thank
Flourishing.
you. I just want to express I really feel that hearing each other and creating space for us to hear each other
Mm,
is how we get to next
mm,
in this moment. And these opportunities are so beautiful when they come. So you issued the invitation to me. So thank you for holding this space for us, your guests, and for hearing us, for listening, and for hearing us into ourselves. It's a
yeah,
beautiful thing. Thank you.
beautiful. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Flucking Flourishing podcast, where we say a bold yes to growth, mess, and midlife magic. If you loved this chat, make sure you're subscribed, share it with your fellow queenagers, and perhaps leave a little love in the form of a review. It helps more fabulous humans find me. Until next time, keep flourishing your way, no fluff, no filters.